Alright, I got a long video coming your guys' way. And I promise you, I was not dragging my feet here. There was just a whole lot more work to this than I was expecting. It was actually really easy. It was just a lot of masking, waiting for paint to dry, waiting for glue to dry, just waiting. Anywho, first things first, I gave the body a nice wet sand, then I came back and gave it a fine polish. You guys have seen me do this before. You've seen countless other YouTubers do it, so I did not waste a lot of time here. Recording, actually, I didn't waste a lot of time recording. This was actually fairly time consuming. It happens to all of us. All the polishing compound gets down in all the nooks and crannies. Let me show you how to clean that out. I showed this tip before, but might as well show it again. Just put some distilled water in your airbrush and then just wash it out. And I do recommend distilled water or any kind of mineral water because it doesn't leave the hard water spots like just regular tap water does. Now, with that fun, tedious project out of the way, we can move on to the next fun, tedious project, and that is masking. If I ever design a model car, I'm going to make all the trims separate just to make it easier to paint. Yeah, you know what? Somebody get Tamiya on the line. I have an idea to pitch to them. So with about 33% of the body masked and painted, I can move on to paint some other small fiddly bits. It all gets painted the same color, so might as well do it now. This is Tamiya X18 Semi-Gloss Black. And yeah, these are the windows. You guys have seen me mask this, you've seen me paint it. I'm not wasting a lot of time. It all gets painted the same color, so it's all getting painted in this scene here. You guys see that small rectangle piece on the top right there? That just reminded me that I didn't put a license plate on this thing. So I'm going to peel all this off here because we got to get it out of the way for the next round of masking and painting. So the rear deck lid engine compartment piece, I don't know this thing's legal name, but whatever it is, it got painted in a flat black. And we're going through all this just so that we can have a very tiny surround that is supposed to look like rubber. You'll see when it's all said and done, but it is just a lot of work. So just a bit more masking, and then I painted it all with a silver. This is Tester's bright silver enamel. Enamel plays very well with Tamiya acrylics. I've done it in the past, so I'm not at all worried about mixing different flavors of paint here. So either I'm laying this paint on too thick, or I'm getting really good at just estimating how much paint I need. Now we finally get to see what all that hard work and time looks like. You will see just a very thin strip of black going all the way around this that is supposed to simulate the weather stripping. Flat colors tend to be just a little fragile, so I got a little bit of touch-up work to do. Not at all a big deal. It's finally time to peel all this off to see how it turned out. I don't know why I just said that. I know how this turned out, but I won't ruin the surprise for y'all. Just watch. Yep, turned out fairly decent. I did have a bit of a problem here though. On this side, I had a little bit of a bleed through, and the edges on both pieces were kind of fuzzy. This is super easy to clean up and fix though. Just scrape all that excess off with a toothpick. It's literally that simple. Then with the wet end of a Q-tip, just go in there and clean up all those little paint flakes and shavings, then just dry it off. You guys remember that fancy wax pencil I had a few episodes ago? That thing rolled off my workbench and just shattered once it hit the concrete floor. So I'm going old school with some double-sided tape on a stick. So once I get the guy exactly where I want it, I'm going to use some of my UV glue here just to kind of tack weld it in place for now. I'm starting to really like that crystal clear glue. The problem is it takes it a good while to set up. This does a good job of holding everything in place while it dries and sets up though. So I still use both. It might have been easier just to put these in there with my hands instead of messing with that stick. That's what I was saying earlier. I'm going to go back in there and really make everything permanent with that crystal clear. Now once it dries, I'm going to go over it all here with this Sharpie just to kind of hide any daylight peeking through there. Because as you guys saw just a few seconds ago, these didn't fit that well. And this stuff is pretty decent at filling gaps too. Who knew? So with this set off to the side to dry, we got more masking and painting to do. What fun! I had to double and triple check to make sure I was painting the right side there. For those of you that are curious, this is just Tamiya clear red. Forget the number offhand. I guess I could pause this and look it up. Yeah, hold on. It is X27. You guys remember any unboxing when I was worried about filling in the Porsche script? Apparently on this car, it's not black. It's all just clear red. So that made this really easy. Now for the blinkers and side markers, I just used Tamiya X26 clear orange. And I also got the side markers on the body too. We cannot forget about them. Now this stuff does not cover that well. It takes about 5 or 6 coats to get that nice barrel-aged caramel color. When it's all said and done, it should look just like this iced tea right here. Now with this last bit of masking peeled off to reveal the clear parts, we got just one thing left to do here, then we are done with these clear parts. And it's one of those things that I did not want to do through a viewfinder, so I did it off camera. But I just took a Sharpie and went over all the trim to make it look black. Now, totally unintentional here, but that clear red, it soaked down into the low spots where the Porsche script was, so it still made it stand out and look a little bit darker. Totally unintentional, but it worked. Alright, so from there you guys could watch me struggle just trying to set this in place. The edges, they have little hooks on them that catch on everything. They caught on the body, then it caught on this paper towel here. Now, at first I thought that was by design. It would hold it in place while the glue dries so we could completely forego this next step. But no, I still had to hold it while the glue dried. You guys probably don't want to see me just sitting here holding this, do you? Yeah, I didn't think so. I'll move on to the headlights. Now these side markers, no matter what I did, they would just not fit. I tried swapping sides, I tried putting them in upside down, I tried putting them in backwards. They would just not fit. Eventually what I did is I just forced them in place and held it in with tape while the glue dries. Now for this next step, make sure the inside of these windows are clear of any fingerprints. You get all the dust out of there you can, because this is the last time we're going to have access to it. That is because it is finally time to mate the interior and chassis with the body. Now this next step here, I'm not going to lie, I lost faith in the build right here. It wasn't that bad, really. It was just getting the exhaust into the exhaust outlets on that rear bumper. What I ended up doing was going in there with my tweezers and prying each exhaust tip down into place. But after probably 10 to 15 minutes of fighting it, I finally got everything to line up the way it's supposed to. Then from there, it's literally just pushing the chassis up into the body. And this is why I always wait to install the wheels last, because I need to get my hands up in there. In a bit though, you'll see this just pop into place. Then I cut the video there for some reason. Once you get the chassis and then the interior tub in place, It's just basic assembly as per the instructions. Oh wait, no it's not. Hold on here. I forgot I did this. For this segment here, I have my camera set up on a tripod because I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to make my own 3D emblem using these metal transfers. And if this works out, spoiler, it does, I'm going to start doing these little 4 and 5 minute just cool little tips and trick videos. Now this is purely experimental. You guys are learning with me. So with the decal being 4 millimeters tall, I found a metal transfer that is the exact same size. So worst case scenario, if this did not work out, all I would really be out is just a few minutes of time, a metal transfer, and a decal. I'm willing to risk that. You guys could probably see where I'm going with this though. That decal, it's going to conform to the 3D parts of that metal transfer. And I did it all backwards. I took the clear plastic off the front of it and kept the backing paper on just so I could do this. I'm having a hard time kind of keeping a hold of this, so I transferred it over to one of these sticky sticks. And I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of micro saw. So I'm going to set this aside for a few hours to dry. When we come back, it should look about like this. Now we're almost done here. I'm going to put one small dab of some UV resin on this and then just set back for a little bit, give it a little bit of time to level out. Now once it's had a bit of time to settle in, I'm just going to go ahead and burn it into place with the light. But yeah, that's it. For some reason, I didn't get any close-ups or photos of the finished project. I just went straight to installing it. And I got just as close to center as I can and put just a tiny dab of that crystal clear on the paint. Then just move this thing into position. It's hard to gauge this to a viewfinder, but I was only about a half a millimeter off center. I'm gonna leave it there. It's not worth messing with it just for a half a millimeter. Okay, now we're back to just basic assembly as per the instructions. Oh yeah, I also got a care package in the mail. So I got some new primer that I wanted to try, and I finally ordered some clear. In case you guys didn't see the lid, this stuff comes from our dear friends at Splash Paints. But you guys know me. Before I do any real painting, I gotta test it. This black surfacer, it doesn't cover that well. Not as well as I was expecting. This is 2 coats. And I want to know how it reacts with my Tamiya acrylics that I always use. So far, so good. So now that I know these two different flavors of paint are going to play nicely, I could finally move on and start putting them to use. Now, one stuff I do like about this new surfacer, it dries super quick. There's almost no wait time. Now, this is Tamiya Metallic Gray. I had originally bought it based off the color in the jar there, thinking it might be an alternative for a carbon ceramic. This stuff looks absolutely nothing like the jar color. It actually looks like a decent steel. So I still used it for brakes. Now do pay attention when you're putting these wheels and tires together, because there is about a millimeter difference between the two. I knew this going into the build. I pointed it out during the unboxing, but I still somehow try to put that fatter rear tire on the skinny front wheel. You know we're getting close to the end when I do a sanity check. All 4 tires are touching the ground. There is zero wobble on this thing. Now, I am kind of surprised Tamiya just completely omitted these parts. These are the levers to get into the access doors for the engine oil and the hydraulic fluid for the suspension. I just cut these from a little section of a for sale sign and painted them yellow. But this door over here, that's for the engine oil, and there should be a door over here for the hydraulic fluid. Since I done all the fitting on this before we went into paint, this thing just slips in right where it needs to go. Yeah, I know. I just messed up that door handle with my thumb. But yeah, boom. We are done with this one. So we're at the end. So you guys know what that means. Thank you. Really, thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. Sorry about my voice too, by the way. I have allergies and a cold. Kansas sucks.